an hour of truth for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and I am in the WYSL studio. Today's a little different though. Bob Savage is actually on vacation, so today it's just me. I'll need your guys' help. Please comment into the show, call in the show. We're going to have some discussion here about a topic that is certainly going all across social media, across the internet, the topic of mass shootings. But before we dive into that, let me give you guys the phone number. If you're in the local area, that's 585-346-3000. Once again, 585-346-3000. And if you're calling in from outside of the area, the phone number is 866-552-1009, 866-552-1009. So here we are. We're here at the WYSL studio. Like I said, Bob Savage is not here. And before we dive into the topic, I'm going to talk a little bit about the last show. Last show I did in Utica. That was a pretty good experience. For those of you listening to the live stream, I think the audio might have cut out a couple times. Turns out the way they ran the cable was in the elevator shaft. I guess whenever the elevator ran, there were some issues there. So let me know if you guys need help getting the audio on that. I can help you out. All right. So let's talk about mass shootings here. This is a seriously deep and important topic to talk about. I come from a very, very strong Second Amendment background, and many of the people I know are extremely pro Second Amendment like I am. And I want all of us to make sure that we pause and take a moment when we jump into these topics, especially when people are pushing for gun control, and take a moment to just stop and not rattle out statistics, because that is one of the things I think is one of our biggest mistakes. The first thing that we do is we go, well, you know, it's much more dangerous to, and we explain all the various things that people die from at a significantly higher rate per day than firearm deaths. And I think the mistake that we make there is not that we're not right or correct or accurate, because those statistics, not only do they exist, but they're correct. They're straight from the CDC. But what we do when we start off that way is we really ignore the emotion, the pain, and the people whose lives were lost. And that's not a good thing. It's a terrible thing. What happens is nobody listens anymore because they think that lives were lost and the only thing you care about is keeping your guns, which is certainly something you care about, but we need to appreciate life. Mary, recognize when life is taken, and make sure that we're connecting with people on an emotional level and talk about how terrible and tragic this actually is. Sounds like we've got a caller on the line. Mary, welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey, how you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing well, thank you. And yourself?
Just doing good. Just kind of sad about what's going on. I was listening to Larry last night. I listened to him after he was live, and oh my gosh, he made so many good points about ways to look at what's going on with the violence and what people are doing and what people are thinking. But truly, I am concerned because when people use words such as our president does, and he uses them so carefree and challenges people to use actions that really don't benefit anybody, it makes for a really bad situation. And I think he's given people a free pass to be choosing to maybe escalate what they were thinking in their minds and go out and do whatever. It's not him wholly. Obviously, he can't control everybody, but I'm just concerned because things have been escalating, and I appreciate Larry's points on getting to the root of what's going on, and we all need to be aware of what people are doing and try to understand, okay, a family member is acting a funny way that you might be concerned about. You need to find out what you can do to help them, make them feel loved, like Larry said, make them feel supported, because a lot of people feel hopeless now, and they're not understanding, what they should do, and the only way to act out is the way that has been coming about for all these terrible tragedies. So I'm just really concerned. I've been praying for the country, and I'm praying for you and Larry and all the people trying to do good out there. And I wanted to thank you, for what you're doing, and thank Larry for what he's been doing, because, we were out there advocating for him. We were out there doing all kinds of great things to see if we could change the way New York is run. And hopefully, down the road, we're going to be doing something different in New York other than what we have.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the call. For those of you who might not know what she's talking about, Larry Sharp, who ran for governor last year, did a live cast and talked about this issue as well. He talked about happiness being a core component of why these mass shootings happen. And it's a really great video. I really recommend you go search Larry Sharp on Facebook. You'll find the Go Live. It may have been on the Sharp Way Facebook, but search Larry Sharp. It'll come up. It's going to be one of the first videos there. Definitely important. And I agree 100%. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about today on this topic are how us as a country have taken a direction of just constantly blaming something instead of really taking legitimate action to resolve the issue. And Larry calls it, getting to the root of the actual issue, not attacking the branches, but actually getting to the root of the issue. And that's why I see is happening here. What I see is we're constantly chasing regulation, chasing these other things, but not actually chasing what the root issue is. But first and foremost, I want to emphasize to everybody here listening to the show, especially my super pro Second Amendment friends, who I am certainly, that's me as well. We need to start by, honoring the lives that have been lost, remembering that that's somebody's child, that's somebody's, could be somebody's parent, a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, a father, a mother. These are lives that were lost. And in no way during this discussion should we ever minimize that. And we shouldn't just look at it as a statistical number and talk about, did you know 400 people die a day because of this? No, let's step away from that discussion because nobody hears us. The other thing that we need to be cognizant of, and I think a lot of us are, but it's totally unacceptable, and it's still happening. It's happening locally, it's happening nationally, and that is this idea that politicians are taking this tragedy and other tragedies, and they've been doing this for decades, if not longer. They're taking these tragedies and using them to further a political agenda, which is just the most wrong thing that could be done. I talk so often about how important it is to become a public servant, and these people are not being public servants. They are politicians, and they are taking advantage of and capitalizing on the deaths of other human beings to push their agenda, to push their policy, and it's just not okay. So we need to call it out as to what it is. Stop standing on the coffins of people who have gone through tragedy to push your political agenda. And a political agenda that's been proven year after year to not be successful in any way. If you were actually pushing for something that had a legitimate way to resolve an issue, maybe that would be looked at differently. Maybe that would even be, a little less grotesque. But the fact that you are literally capitalizing on somebody's death to push forward policies that have been proven ineffective time and time again with hopes that your name hits the top of the news feed just for your next reelection, I have a serious issue with that. It's not okay. And any politician, I don't care if it's Republican, I don't care if it's a Democrat, I don't care if it's an independent, third party, libertarian, whomever who tries to capitalize on this stuff, we have to stand up as a community and say, hey, that's somebody's family. Somebody died, and you're trying to take advantage of that. You're trying to, go ahead and further your reelection, further your news cycle over somebody's death. Not okay. And we need to speak out against that. And we need to point out that that was a life lost. And nobody should be taking advantage of the fact that that life was lost. So, guys, let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about on the show. I want to talk about what is killing people in the United States in terms of what's driving shootings, what's driving these mass shootings. I'm going to hit a couple topics. Some of them are going to sound pretty familiar, especially if you listen to the show, but there's going to be some additional stuff there. If you listened to Larry last night, you're going to hear maybe a little bit of repetition, but some different stuff. We're going to talk about people who have a lack of purpose. We're going to talk about people who have broken families and loneliness. And we're going to talk about people who are dealing with a lot of polarization, hyper-partisanship, and hatred. So those are the topics that are going to be coming up here on the show, and we will be back here in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in and listening to the show. Also give a shout out to some of you on Facebook. So Michelle, Jay, Stephanie, Michael, Valerie, Yolana, Barbara, and Pierre. Oh, and Nate as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining the show here, and to all the listeners on the WYSL channels. You know, we're talking about mass shootings and moving on to the causes of a mass shooting, because it's really not being talked about. If you look at one side of the aisle, they are talking about mental health. And not to say that mental health isn't a contributor, talking about drugs, not to say that isn't a contributor, but the other side is talking about hate. They're talking about access to firearms and a whole bunch of other things. So I want to talk about the issues that I see personally, the things that I'm seeing, what I believe to be the root cause of these mass shootings. So that's just what we're going to talk about here. The first thing I want you to think about, though, is waking up in the morning and thinking that the only thing left for you to do, or your only option for the day, or maybe the best option for the day, is killing people. That's what you're going to do that day, with the end goal that an officer will show up and end your life for you. Because that is what these shootings are. This is a public suicide, is what the overwhelming majority, if not all of them, are somebody who is troubled, and they think the only way to go out is with mass media chanting their name, sharing them around the nation, around the world, maybe if they do it right. They're going to make their mark, but maybe they weren't treated right. They have an issue, something going on, and they don't want to be here anymore. Now, we talk about this often when we talk about mass shootings, but these aren't the only people that go through this. You know, right now we have a serious issue with a lot of people committing suicide. Look at our veterans community, 22 a day. Look at farmers in New York State. We have an epidemic of farmers committing suicide right now. So this is an issue that is much deeper and prevalent across our nation. But the thing is, we're only talking about mass shootings, and we're only talking about them because of the news cycle. And that is sensational, and that's what's driving people's emotions. So I've got an issue with that too, that we're only talking about the people who are dying here during these mass shootings. But let's talk about why. What is driving people to have a public suicide by cop? First thing is going to be lack of purpose. If you have no purpose in life, if you have nothing to achieve, nothing to aspire to, nothing to go towards, where are you going? You're not going anywhere. If you have no responsibilities, what do you wake up in the morning and think about doing? What direction do you think about going in? You don't. You have no purpose. And I see government taking purpose away from people constantly, taking away responsibility from people every chance they get. A new regulation, a new agency, a new service to take responsibility away from people. The bigger government gets, the less and less responsibility the person has. I mean, and we talk about this, we're literally talking about things like raise the age. You know, where people are pushing to raise the age for cigarettes, raise the age for purchasing firearms. Actually, cigarettes already passed, you know, and it used to be you could drink alcohol at 18, the same age that you could enlist. People used to get a job at 13 or 14 years old. Now, a lot of people get their first job at 26 years old when they're finally through not 4 years of college, but 5 or 6 years of college, can't find a job, move back home, live with their parents for 2 years, and then get their first job. And at 26 years old, they're now learning responsibility of what does it mean to show up to work on time? What does it mean to have somebody depend on you? These are things that we should be allowing people to have at a significantly younger age, so that in the morning when they wake up, they're not thinking about killing their peers, killing the kids at school with them, or killing the people in the shopping market. This is a serious issue. I mean, we can't look at this as anything other than what it is. Some people want to say this is a gun problem. Well, what about the people who get in a car and run people down in the street? What about people lighting fire to a building to try to kill the people inside? What about people that bomb buildings? This is not related to a piece of equipment. This is a societal, cultural issue. And one of the major components is taking responsibility away from people so that they have no purpose. And we're not just doing this, with things like cigarettes, which I know a lot of people support that because they don't want young people getting involved in tobacco products. It's still a choice and a decision that people need to make. But it's more than that. It's what's going on in our school systems, with standardized testing, Common Core, trying to fit every single child into that same peg, into that hole. Well, guess what? Not all kids are the same. In fact, it's people's differences that make them unique, that give them that personality, that allow them to be that beautiful person that they are. So the idea that we're now putting kids through a system that is supposed to mold them into uniformity is an issue. And that's one of the reasons that kids wake up and think, when I go to school today, I'm going to kill people and hope to die in the process. That's a terrible, awful thing. We have to stop pointing fingers at other things and just look at what's happened, what's being done, and what's not working. But it doesn't end there, because we put kids in this school system that is clearly not working, and then we lie to them their entire life as society and tell them, well, as long as you get through this, and then take on a ton of debt, more than anything else you'd buy. Student loans are second only to mortgages, and they're catching up the higher and higher and the greater they get. So we tell them, take on as much debt as you would for the home that you might live in for the rest of your life, and then you'll get a job. Then it'll be okay. That's what you need to do. And then they take on all that debt, and then they can't get a job. They don't qualify for a job. They don't have the experience they need for a job. Where does that leave that person? Lied to throughout their life, still nothing to fulfill their purpose. They thought they had purpose. They thought they were getting a degree and a job. That was really the end goal, right? To get that job, just to find out there are no jobs for them. It's a lie society has told them. So, yeah, where is their purpose? Where has society led these people? Now, I'm not making excuses for the people who are conducting these shootings. I'm not saying it's in any way okay. I'm not saying it's society's fault, so they're justified. I'm not saying any of that at all. I'm saying we need to take a really hard look at what we're doing as society and in American culture today and decide, is this the direction we really want to go down? We have a school system right now that pushes children to failure, and children who want to come outside of that box, maybe children who want to get involved in trades, people who want to get involved in CTE, people who want to do hands-on learning and do something. Many times society, their parents, family members, guidance counselors at school make them feel that they would be a lesser person if they take that other track. But I tell you what, somebody who is a plumber, somebody who's a welder, an electrician, somebody who has purpose throughout the day doing work that's fulfilling to them and also it's hard work that tires them out. At the end of the day, they're tired from working. Those people, they get purpose. They have something. At the end of the day, they've created something. And that's not to say that you can't have that same purpose. You can't have that same fulfillment at the end of the day being a doctor. No, of course. Like you, as a doctor, you might save somebody's life. That's an amazing thing. Or maybe as somebody who is developing something in the scientific field that maybe helps with medicine or technology. Of course you can. I'm not talking about the people who have found purpose, who have found a way to fulfill their lives. I'm talking about those who haven't had the opportunity, those who have every option constantly being taken away from them, those who have every decision made for them, and those who aren't being able to live with their personalities, making their decisions, and now they have anxiety and they're terrified to be out in public and doing something as simple as ordering a pizza or telling the waiter or the waitress what you want on the menu, because now it's your turn to make a decision. And you're so not used to making those decisions because everybody's made them for you. That puts people in a tough spot. All right, guys, we're coming up on our half-hour break here. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the second issue, the second item that I think drives mass shootings to occur here in the United States. We'll be back on Radio Free New York.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open daily. Avon Gun, East Main Street, between the Bank of Castile and Charlotte's Web of Odds and Ends.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL.
AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. Scrolling through the comments here on the Facebook live feed. For those of you who are listening on Twitter and YouTube, I apologize. there was an update to the chat system yesterday that kind of shows me all the incoming chats. They updated it last week, I think, and it's been broken ever since. So I'm reaching out to that company and say, hey, I can't see these chat messages that are coming in. It's kind of important. There's a ton of comments in here, so I'm just going to read a couple of them to you guys. And while I'm reading this, think about calling into the show. I'm here by myself today. I don't have Bob Savage with me. So if you did want to call in with a comment or a question, that number is 866-552-1009. Once again, that's 866-552-1009. We're talking about mass shootings here. Nate comments, I am so sick of being told I don't care about mass shooting or the victims simply because I don't think mass government confiscation of firearms is the answer. Like I've said 1,000 times about various problems. It's not that I don't see or care about an issue. I think that government over-regulation is the worst answer. Nate, I agree with that 100%. You know, government overregulation is never the answer. Government confiscation is never the answer. I think what people are feeling and what they're struggling with is for them inside, they're feeling so much emotion. They're feeling sadness. They're feeling loss potentially. They're feeling fear. And when they hear, you know, statistics or something like that, actual facts and data, I know it sounds funny, but really what they're looking for, they're having an emotional response, and they're anything that doesn't feel like emotion and caring and stuff really doesn't feel like you care to them. And that's just how our minds work. That's how emotions work. That's actually why it's so easy for politicians to take advantage of these situations, because they're offering that emotional response back, which is, yes, we're going to do something. We're going to take away all the guns and do all these things. It's a terrible, terrible answer. It's not a good answer. It's the wrong answer, but they feel the emotion. They feel like somebody cares by doing that. So they have that emotional reaction, and that's what they're drawn to. Next comment here. Michelle mentions Buffalo had a car run into a bar of people this weekend and kill a bunch of people. Yeah, that didn't hit the news cycle. It wasn't sensational. Lives were lost, but it didn't meet the narrative. So yeah, that didn't make it into the news cycle at all. And actually, Nate's got another comment in here. The best thing we can do for our kids is to teach them how to make good decisions when we are not around, and to live and accept the consequences of those decisions. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, giving children the opportunity to make decisions at a young age when screwing up is okay, because they live with you. They live in your home. They have the opportunity to mess up, and it's not so devastating. You know, Larry and I would talk about, make the mistake when you're 16 and you live with your parents, not at 26 when you're trying to go, you know, ramen noodle box by ramen noodle box to get by because you've got all this student debt and you've got no job and you're trying to maintain an apartment in your life. Absolutely. You know, help kids, give them responsibility at a young age, give them purpose. This will help. It really will. And speaking of raising families, you know, the next thing that is a reason for these mass shootings is broken families, bad relationships, and loneliness. You know, we see this going on constantly in our country. And when you look at the mass shootings, you'll see one of these three things that we're talking about, if not all three of these or a combination of them. It starts with lack of purpose. Usually the next thing you see is a broken relationship, whether that's a broken up family with maybe a nasty divorce, or maybe just terrible life relationships, or that they can't maintain relationships. So you see these people not able to maintain a relationship with a girlfriend, a boyfriend, or a spouse because of what's going on in their lives. You know, in New York especially, we don't help this at all. We make it worse. We do that through family court. Our family court in New York has got to be the worst in the nation. we don't even give parents the opportunity to start out with 50-50 custody. We usually, and I'm speaking generally here, we usually give custody to the mother. And then the father kind of gets what he gets. I forget what it is. I think it's either 2 days a month or I think it's 2 weekends a month is how New York State starts. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't bad fathers out there. There certainly are. And I'm not saying that there aren't good, amazing mothers out there, because there certainly are. But there's also good, amazing fathers, and there's also bad mothers. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So when we take family court and we split up custody for a child, and don't get me wrong, I understand there's things like school districts, there's more to play here, but the standard is it's not 50-50. It should start at 50-50. And then if he's a bad guy or she's a bad girl, whatever, if dad's not the right fit for 50-50 custody, maybe mom's not the right fit for 50-50 custody, it should at least start there. And we talked about, Larry Sharp earlier in the show, but I can't tell you how many times I heard Larry say that when he lost his father, he would have chose a broke father any day of the week over no father at all. Any day of the week, he would have taken a broken father than no father at all. And that's what our state many times is putting people in the situation where their family's being broken up. The state literally makes this a really, really difficult thing for people. And then they're stuck becoming depressed. They get anxiety. They then become, because of the way the system works, they start to become an angry, bad person. And it's not because that's how they normally are. That's not because that's the type of person they want to be. It's because that's what the state put them through. And now they're fighting and spending every last dollar that they have, that they work for, not taking their kids out to ice cream or taking their kids to a park, but instead just fighting to have that extra day a week to take that kid to the park. And then, of course, what happens is the relationship with the child and the parent, and this, once again, could go mother, could go father. It's just statistically speaking, fathers. That relationship becomes strained and bad because that father has so much just anger and upsetness with the mother, with the court system. The system screwed them. They don't get access to their child, and that starts rubbing off on the child. I mean, that's the toxic environment that our court system is creating, and we're literally creating a court system that takes children away from their fathers. So it's a bad, awful thing. Jay comments in, free range kids. Yeah, I mean, that is just the greatest concept. The idea that, you allow your kids to be out there, make decisions. When you let them play, you let them play. You let them make decisions. We have these helicopter parents today who don't allow children to make any decisions whatsoever. They're constantly going through their phones. They're going through their backpacks. It's like the Big Brother spy operation going on for these children's lives. Everything is under a microscope, and if it's not perfect, something is wrong. And it's a terrible, terrible situation because it creates so much stress and pressure on children that they learn that they can't make decisions growing up. They learn that that nothing they do can be right or perfect unless they do it exactly how you want to do it. And I'm not saying you can't parent your kids. Of course you can. I'm not saying you can't have rules and you can't have discipline. Of course you can have those things. Of course you need those things. You need an example for children to grow up. They need responsibility, but they also need the opportunity to make decisions, make mistakes, learn from them, understand the consequences and fulfill the consequences. And that'll help, these kids when they leave to not want to wake up in the morning. Well, not that they want to, but to not wake up in the morning and decide that the thing they need to do that day is kill somebody or a group of people and then themselves, because that's the America that we're living in right now. And it is a awful, awful situation. And Michelle says kids are not allowed to be kids. They have to be an adult sometime. Yeah, that's true. When I grew up, I look back at some of the things that I did growing up and can't necessarily fathom how I was able to do some of those things. I'll give you an example. I didn't have a car. I was too young to have a car. So what I had a bicycle. You know what I did? My first job, I rode my bicycle to work. It was about 9 miles every single day. My family always had car troubles. We weren't well off by any means. The only way I could get to work was by bicycle. Sometimes that was the same thing with school because I didn't have a bus to school. So I'd ride my bicycle. And that's something that, at 14, 15, 16 years old, parents don't allow their kids to ride their bikes around even in the neighborhood anymore. And I was doing that at 10, 12 years old. I would babysit my siblings at a young age. There's a lot of things that parents don't allow their children to have or do that involves responsibility. And the family court system makes it so much worse because now if you allow maybe a 12-year-old to watch a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old or maybe even a 4-year-old, well, somebody might call CPS. If your kids are hanging out in the neighborhood, maybe they're riding their bikes around the block and you're not in sight, that's something that somebody could use against you in family court. That's how I grew up. We were fine. But now family court makes it so you can't even give those sort of things to your children without having to at least worry that might be held against you. All right, guys, we're going to take another quick break here. And when we come back on the show, we're going to talk about the last thing that drives mass shootings, polarization and hatred. We're going to talk about that on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Ready to get wet? Come to the Soak Zone at Seabreeze. Catch the crazy curves of the new Twister water slide. Take a little plunge on the new pipeline. Plus, do all your favorites: the dumping bucket, the raceway slide, aqua blasters, and more. Come get soaked at the new Soak Zone. There's so much water fun so close to home.
Come get your stroller at Seabreeze.
Get your tickets online at Seabreeze.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister. And before we go on with today's content, I want to talk about our Patreon. Patreon is the way we keep the show on the air. We are hoping to grow the show to a 5-day-a-week show, which means you'd hear us Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And I'd actually bring on another co-host or two with me as well. Way you can support the show, go to patreon.com/RFNY, and please subscribe to the show. You don't have to subscribe to a lot. Just kind of help me out. Costs a bit to be on the air. I'm just looking to cover costs. I'm not trying to make any extra money here. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. Just need you guys to help me out there. So if you can, patreon.com/RFNY, subscribe to one of the options there, or you can put in a custom amount. Doesn't matter to me. Just help me keep this going. And also, if you could, hit that share button, because it looks like Facebook, and this has happened before, but it looks like Facebook is kind of throttling down our traffic. It's going down quite a bit, even though people have been sharing it. I'm assuming Facebook doesn't agree with the content we're posting. Big surprise there. So help me out. Invite your friends to like the page. Make sure you share it when I go live. Share the content that's important and valuable to you. And let's keep reaching people with this message. So for those of you just joining us here on the show, we're talking about mass shootings, as probably every other station on the planet is, but we're talking about them a little different. And we're talking about the three things that cause people to go out and want to kill each other. First is lack of purpose. Second is going to be broken families, broken relationships, and loneliness. The last thing we're talking about is polarization and hatred. And I truly believe, and there will be those who disagree with me, and I'm open to opposing views on this, that the most of this starts with the media. It really does. I believe this starts with the media. I believe this starts with a cycle of, we need to sell a story. What's the most sensational? What's going to pull on people's heartstrings? How can we make people fight with each other? Because when they fight with each other, they comment more on our page, which drives more traffic, which means we can sell more ads. How do we do this? Ooh, this is polarizing. We're going to run with this article. I believe that's what has really thrown the gasoline on the fire here. You mix in social media. Now you've got that on the largest scale that we've just ever had. But it doesn't stop with the media. The media creates it, and politicians jump on board. And this, to me, is one of the main reasons. There are many reasons, but one of the main reasons that having a two-party system is so bad, because it allows the creation of polarization. It allows people to pick just one side or the other, even if both sides are totally wrong. There is no other option. So what does this look like? This looks like the media spinning up a sensational article, and then people seeing it, and politicians jumping on board to rally their base with their one polarized view, and their opponents coming up with whatever is the opposite of that. Once again, they might actually agree with the other side, but they can't publicly. So they come up with just something else. It might be even worse, even crazier. So you might see it something along the lines of, oh, well, we're going to ban, let's do bump stocks. Okay, so Trump administration recently banned bump stocks. Well, the Democrats, that's like, they should have been salivating about that. That should have been like a huge, huge win for them. Instead, they're pushing for more. It's not enough. So we need a third party to say, hey, guys, what if we focused on school and education and reducing these regulations so that students don't want to wake up in the morning when they wake up in the morning, they don't want to kill each other. Let's focus on that. No, you're not going to hear that in the news cycle. You might hear things about mental health. You might hear things about drugs, and you'll probably hear things about expanding background checks, further regulation, that sort of thing. But there is no voice in the media saying, hey, wait, none of that's right. And not to say that mental health isn't right, but there's more to it than that. And we're ignoring the more to it part, and we just keep slapping Band-Aids on things and slapping Band-Aids on things. How do I know that? New York State, we already have mental health provisions. Other states already have red flag laws. So clearly that's not working. You need another voice to step in and say, no, here's some reason. And I'll tell you something that is another example, unrelated to firearms, an issue created by the media, driven by polarization in politics. And that's the example of police and community relations. Look at police officers. Police officers literally join, the overwhelming majority of them. There are a few bad apples in every bunch. The overwhelming majority of police officers join because they want to do good. They want to protect others. They want to keep the community that they police safe. Well, what have politicians and the media turned them into? Ticket writing revenue machines who have a bad relationship with the community. And that's what has been the bad relationship with the community has been spun by the media and created and enhanced by politicians. So now we have things like what happened over this last weekend in Rochester, where we had 200 to 250 people in Park Ave, not in Park Ave Fest, but in Park Ave, which is one of the nicest areas in the city of Rochester, hands down. Young people want to be there. People who have got money want to be there. It's not a cheap place to live. And in Park Ave, you've got about 250 people throwing glass bottles at the police. And, that's the height of the media cycle for Rochester.
3.
Not you know what the media cycle of Rochester could be? It could be about what the police were doing. I can't remember. It wasn't Thurston. I think it was like the Joseph Ave corridor last week, actually going out, walking the beat, interacting with people in the community, talking about how they're working together with the community to make things better, to make it so people aren't afraid of the police. No, that wasn't the media cycle. The media cycle was a bunch of drunk people throwing bottles at the police. Why? Because that's sensational. So why do I say all this? Because the media is fueling hate, and so are politicians, because it benefits them. And that hate gets them reelected and gets them advertisers. So what do people see when they turn on their television, when they look at their Facebook, when they look at the news feed for the day? They see you're wrong. There's something wrong going on, and it's because of someone else. And that's what they see. And whether that is Democrats versus Republicans, Republicans versus Democrats, that might be even immigrants. I see things being blamed on immigrants that, I'm sorry, you can't blame that. Those people weren't even here to create that problem. But that's what the media says. And some people are like, yeah, that sounds about right. I need somebody to be upset with, so I'm going to be upset with them. So guys, these are the three things, right? We've got lack of purpose, which is lack of responsibility, lack of fulfillment. We have broken families and loneliness, broken relationships, not being able to have personal connections with other people. And then we have polarization and hatred, the idea that you have to fit in one box or another, and the media and politicians are telling you that you have to hate the other side, whether you agree with them or not. And if you agree with them, you might be one of them, and therefore you're a bad person. If we can work on all three of these things together by allowing people to make life choices, giving them responsibility, helping them with their relationships, and letting them know it's okay to have differing, opposing views, we can start to actually get at the root of these issues. Guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Radio Free New York. Friday's episode is going to be a little different. I'm going to be out of town. We're going to see if I can make it work. I'll tell you where I am on Friday if I get myself on the air. All right? Have a great day.